The Institute of Studies floated in the dark space between three star systems. It was a massive station made of white metal and blue glass, and it held students from over 40 different species. Young beings came here from every corner of the galaxy to learn about each other. They studied languages and cultures and biology. They learned how to live together in a universe that was very large and very old. Professor stood at the front of Lecture Hall 7. He was an elderly with 4 arms and silver blue scales that caught the light when he moved. His species had been teaching at this academy for over 2,000 years. He was considered the greatest expert on species classification in the known galaxy. His students respected him. His colleagues admired him. When he spoke, beings listened. Today his class was full. Over 200 students sat in the curved rows of seats that rose up from the central platform. There were students with their thick armor plating. There were with their 4 eyes and telepathic abilities. There were who could regrow lost limbs in a matter of hours. And in the very back row, almost hidden in the shadows, sat 3 humans. Cody Marshall was 19 years old. He had brown hair and an easy smile that made others feel comfortable around him. Lily Torres sat beside him. She was 20 and studied xenobiology with a focus that impressed even her alien professors. Sam was the oldest at 21. He was quiet and watchful, and he moved with the careful grace of someone who understood his own body very well. These 3 were the only humans at the entire academy. Earth had only recently been allowed to send exchange students, and the galactic community was still deciding what to think about the new species from the small blue planet. Professor raised 2 of his 4 hands, and the room fell silent. A holographic display flickered to life behind him, showing images of different species. Today we continue our study of survival strategies, he said. His voice was deep and pleasant. Every species in this galaxy has evolved specific traits that allow them to survive. Some have developed natural armor. Others have telepathic coordination. Still others have physical abilities that make them difficult to kill. He gestured, and the display showed the image rotated slowly, highlighting the thick plates that covered every part of the being's body. They evolved on a world filled with predators. Their armor can withstand impacts that would destroy metal. It has nothing to fear from physical attack. The students in the class sat up a little with pride. The display changed to show a hive cluster. They survive through perfect coordination. Their telepathic bond allows them to act as one mind across thousands of individuals. A threat to one is known instantly by all. The students hummed quietly in agreement. Professor continued through several more species. He discussed thee and their regeneration. He talked about thee and their venomous spines. He explained how they could survive in the vacuum of space without protection. Then the display changed to show a human. The image was of a soldier in combat gear, holding a rifle. The human looked small compared to the massive species that had been shown before. The skin looked soft. The teeth were blunt. There were no claws or armor or any visible natural weapons. Professor paused. His expression became serious, and his voice grew gentle in a way that suggested he was about to deliver difficult news. And now we come to humanity, he said, the species to join our galactic community. He gestured and more images appeared. Humans in spacesuits, humans in vehicles, humans surrounded by machines and tools and weapons of every kind. Humans are unique among all known sentient species, Professor explained. They evolved on a world that should have killed them. They have no natural armor. Their skin can be cut by almost anything. They have no claws, no fangs, no venom. They cannot regenerate. They are not telepathic. They cannot survive in extreme environments without artificial protection. The class murmured. Some students looked at the 3 humans in the back with expressions of pity. A female turned around completely, her armored face showing what might have been sympathy. In order to survive, Professor continued, humans were forced to develop external tools, weapons. Without these tools, a human cannot defend itself against even a minor predator. They are, by any reasonable measure, the most physically vulnerable sentient species in the known galaxy. He said this with kindness, as if he was trying not to hurt the feelings of the humans in his class. He believed he was being sensitive to their obvious limitations. This is not a criticism, he added quickly. Humans have proven to be clever and resourceful. They have built impressive technology to compensate for their natural weaknesses. We should admire their ability to overcome such severe biological disadvantages. A student raised one of her 4 hands. Professor, how did humans survive long enough to develop technology? If they were so defenseless, would they not have been killed before they could invent weapons? Professor nodded at the excellent question. Human historians believe their species survived through hiding and luck. They avoided confrontation with larger predators until they developed tools. It is actually quite remarkable that they exist at all. In the back row, Cody Marshall pressed his lips together very hard. Beside him, Lily Torres covered her mouth with her hand. Sam closed his eyes and took a slow breath. Professor noticed none of this. He was too busy bringing up more slides that showed humans using various weapons throughout their history. As you can see, humans require external force multipliers for every aspect of survival. Hunting, defense, even basic travel on their home world required tools because their bodies simply could not compete with other species. He turned to face the class with all four arms spread wide in a gesture of conclusion. In summary, humans represent a fascinating case study in compensation. They are living proof that intelligence can overcome even the most severe physical limitations. We should welcome them to our community and help them understand that they are safe here, where they do not need to fear the dangers their fragile bodies cannot handle. The class nodded along. Many students looked back at the humans with warm expressions that clearly said they would protect these poor, weak creatures. And that was when the laughter started. It was soft at first, just a small sound from the back of the room, but in the silence following the professor's kind words, it carried across the entire lecture hall. Professor turned his four eyes toward the source of the sound. Cody Marshall was laughing. He was trying very hard to stop, but he could not. Lily Torres had given up entirely and was shaking with silent giggles. Even the quiet Sam was smiling in a way that seemed almost dangerous. The entire class stared at them. Professor blinked all four of his eyes in confusion. He had expected many reactions from the human students. Embarrassment, perhaps. Maybe gratitude for his gentle handling of a sensitive topic. He had not expected them to laugh. The laughter echoed through Lecture Hall 7 like something that did not belong. Every alien student turned to look at the three humans in the back row. Some faces showed confusion. Others showed concern. A few showed what might have been offense on behalf of the humans themselves. Professor lowered two of his forearms slowly. His silver-blue scales shifted in a pattern that indicated uncertainty. "I apologize if my words were somehow hurtful," he said gently. "I was trying to present the information with sensitivity to your species' natural challenges." This only made Cody Marshall laugh harder. He bent forward in his seat and pressed both hands over his face, trying to control himself. Lily Torres managed to speak first. Her voice was still shaking with amusement. "We are so sorry, Professor," she said. "We are not offended, please believe that. We just found your presentation very funny." The professor tilted his head. His four eyes blinked in a pattern that meant deep confusion among his species. "Funny," he repeated. Instructor stepped forward from where he had been standing at the side of the room. He was nearly 8 feet tall with compound eyes and plates of natural armor covering his body. His voice was stern when he spoke. "You find your own weakness amusing?" he asked. "That seems psychologically unhealthy." Lily shook her head. "We are not laughing at our weakness, instructor." "Then what are you laughing at?" Sam finally spoke. His voice was calm and quiet, and somehow that made the entire room pay closer attention. "We are laughing at the idea that we are weak." The class murmured again. A student made a sound that might have been disbelief. A cluster buzzed with telepathic conversation that the humans could not hear. Professor raised all four hands in a placating gesture. "Please understand, I meant no insult. The data clearly shows that humans lack natural defenses. Your own historians confirm this. I was simply presenting the facts of your biology." Cody had finally stopped laughing. He wiped his eyes and sat up straight. "Professor, with respect, your facts are correct, but your conclusion is wrong." "My conclusion?" "You said humans need weapons to survive, that we are defenseless without them. Is that not accurate?" Cody looked at his two friends. Lily nodded. Sam gave a small shrug that seemed to say go ahead. Cody stood up from his seat. He was not tall, he was not particularly muscular. He looked like exactly what Professor had described: soft, vulnerable, harmless. "Would you allow me to offer a small demonstration?" Cody asked. "I think it might help explain why we found your lecture so amusing." Professor considered this. He believed the human student was probably embarrassed and wanted to save some dignity in front of his classmates. Allowing a small demonstration seemed like the kind thing to do. Of course, the professor said warmly. What did you have in mind? Cody walked down the curved steps toward the central platform. Every eye in the room followed him. I would like to show the class what a human can do without weapons, he said. For this, I will need a volunteer, someone who represents the kind of natural advantages you described. He turned to look at Instructor. Instructor, would you be willing to help? They made a sound that might have been amusement. He stood almost 3 feet taller than Cody. His natural armor had been tested against plasma fire. His species were known throughout the galaxy as formidable warriors. You want to demonstrate against me? Asked. If you are willing. Several students made sounds of concern. A called out from the middle rows. Human, this is not wise. Instructor could hurt you badly without meaning to. Cody smiled. It was a friendly smile, but there was something else behind it, something the aliens could not quite identify. I appreciate your concern, he said, but I will be fine. Professor stepped forward. Perhaps we should choose a less dangerous volunteer. I would not want you to be injured. Professor, that is exactly the point, Cody said. Everyone in this room believes I am in danger. I want to show you why that belief is incorrect. He removed his academy jacket and placed it neatly on a desk. Underneath, he wore a simple gray shirt. His arms were bare, showing skin that looked exactly as soft and vulnerable as the professor had described. Instructor looked at Professor. The professor hesitated, then nodded slowly. If the human wanted to embarrass himself, perhaps it would be a learning experience for everyone. The walk to the center of the platform. He towered over Cody like a living statue of armor and muscle. What exactly are we demonstrating? Asked. Simple combat, Cody said. I would like you to try to restrain me. Use whatever force you consider safe. I will try to stop you. This seems unfair to you. Instructor, I promise you, it is not. Cody looked up at Professor. Would you please time us? I am curious how long this will take. The professor raised one hand, and a holographic timer appeared in the air. Are you ready? He asked. Shifted into a combat stance. His armored plates clicked into a defensive configuration. He looked like something that could survive a starship crash. Cody stood with his hands at his sides. He looked like something that could be hurt by a strong wind. Begin, Professor said. Instructor moved first. He swung one massive armored arm toward Cody at what he considered a reasonable speed. He did not want to actually hurt the fragile human. He just wanted to grab him and end this quickly before anyone got embarrassed. His arm passed through empty air. Cody was simply not there anymore. He had ducked under the swing with a speed that made several students gasp out loud. Before could turn, Cody was behind him. They spun around, surprised but not worried. The human had been fast, but speed would not help against armor. He swung again, faster this time. Cody moved like water flowing around a stone. He did not try to block or resist. He simply was not where the attack arrived. And then, before anyone could understand what was happening, was falling. Cody had dropped low and swept his leg against the back of the knee joint. Not against the armor, against the place where the armor plates met. The place where movement required flexibility instead of protection. Instructor hit the floor with a crash that echoed through the lecture hall. The timer showed 11 seconds. Silence filled the room, complete and total silence. Rose to his feet, his compound eyes focused on Cody with new attention. Again, the instructor said. Cody nodded. They faced each other once more. This time did not hold back. He moved at full combat speed, using techniques that had served his species for 10,000 years. None of it mattered. Cody did not fight against the strength. He used it. Every charge became a redirection. Every grab became a lever. Every attack became an opportunity. 23 seconds later, stumbled into a desk so hard that it cracked down the middle. The instructor stood there, breathing hard, completely bewildered. Cody was not even sweating. One more time, Cody said softly. And this time I will show you something that I learned from studying xenobiology, just for fun. They engaged again. But this time, after only 13 seconds, Cody was behind with 2 fingers pressed against a specific point on his neck. Instructor froze completely. His armored body went stiff and then slowly relaxed. He sank to his knees, not from pain, but from complete loss of muscle control. Nerve cluster, Cody explained. Your species has 3 of them. The information is in the xenobiology database. I read it because I was curious. The timer showed a total of 47 seconds for all 3 exchanges. Professor's 4 hands were frozen in the air. His lecture notes floated forgotten beside him. In the back row, Lily Torres stood up from her seat. Would you like to know, she said into the absolute silence, why humans really laugh when you say we are defenseless? Instructor sat on the floor of Lecture Hall 7. His armored body was unhurt, but his pride was somewhere else entirely. He stared up at Cody Marshall with compound eyes that could not quite process what had just happened. The 200 students in the curved seats above had gone completely still. They watched the humans like scientists observing a new and potentially dangerous specimen. Lily Torres walked down the steps from the back row. Her footsteps were the only sound in the room. She moved past the frozen students and the confused professor until she stood beside Cody on the central platform. Sam followed her. He moved slowly, deliberately, his eyes passing over every alien face in the room. He was memorizing their expressions. He would remember this moment for a long time. Professor finally found his voice. I do not understand, he said. His 4 hands moved in a gesture that meant complete confusion. The data is clear. Humans have no natural weapons, no armor, no special abilities. The data is accurate, Lily agreed, but you misunderstood what it means. She raised her hand, and a holographic display appeared from her personal tablet. It showed Earth, the small blue planet that had produced humanity. You are correct that our world was dangerous, she said. You are correct that many creatures on our planet had armor and claws and fangs and venom. You are correct that humans had none of these things. She gestured, and the display changed to show ancient Earth. Massive creatures roamed the land. Predators with teeth longer than a human arm. Prey animals with horns and hooves that could crush bone. But you made an assumption that was incorrect, Lily continued. You assumed that because we lacked these things, we were victims. You assumed we needed weapons because we could not survive without them. The display changed again. It showed a timeline. Species after species appeared and then vanished. This is the extinction record for Earth megafauna, Lily explained. These are all the large creatures that once shared our planet with us. She pointed to the end of the timeline, where almost everything had disappeared. Humans hunted them all, every single one. We did not hide from the predators, Professor. We killed them. We killed them so completely that most of them no longer exist. The room was silent. A student shifted in his seat, his armor plates clicking nervously. Sam stepped forward. His voice was quiet, but it carried to every corner of the hall. You mentioned thee and their natural armor, he said. On Earth, we had creatures covered in armor too. They were called armadillos. Larger ones were called glyptodonts. Humans hunted them with sharpened sticks. We used their shells as bowls. He began walking slowly through the aisles between the alien students. None of them moved. They barely seemed to breathe. You mentioned thee and their coordinated hunting, Sam continued. On Earth, wolves hunted in packs. They coordinated perfectly. Humans domesticated them. We made them our pets and our partners. We did the same with horses and elephants and birds. We took the most dangerous creatures on our planet and convinced them to work for us. Cody walked to where Instructor still sat on the floor. He extended his hand to help the stand. The professor said humans invented weapons because we needed them to survive, Cody said. That is backwards. We invented weapons because we had already won. Took the offered hand and rose to his feet. He towered over Cody, but somehow the size difference seemed less important now. What do you mean? The instructor asked. By the time humans invented metal weapons, we had already hunted the megafauna to extinction. By the time we invented guns, we had already conquered every environment on our planet. We did not invent weapons to survive. We invented them because we were bored. The words hung in the air like something heavy and sharp. Professor made a small sound of disbelief. Bored? Lily brought up new data on her display. It showed human endurance statistics compared to other Earth species. Humans are pursuit predators, she explained. Our bodies are designed to chase things until they die from exhaustion. We can run for days without stopping. No creature on Earth could escape us. We would simply follow them until their hearts gave out. She changed the display to show human temperature regulation. We sweat. It seems like a small thing, but it means we can operate in heat that would kill almost anything else. While our prey collapsed from overheating, we kept walking. The display changed again to show the human brain. And then there is this, Lily said, pattern recognition, predictive analysis, the ability to look at an enemy and know what they will do before they do it. That is how Cody defeated Instructor. He did not fight the armor. He predicted where the armor was not. Sam had returned to the central platform. He stood with his hands clasped behind his back, like a soldier giving a briefing. You asked how humans survived long enough to invent tools, he said. The answer is that we were never in danger. The other creatures were in danger from us. We did not hide in caves to escape predators. We hid in caves to ambush them. A student raised a trembling appendage. But you are so small, she said. So soft. Surely a large predator could kill a human easily. Sam smiled. It was not a happy expression. A large predator could kill one human easily, he agreed. But there is never just one human. We work together. We communicate. We plan. And we never ever stop. Cody picked up where Sam left off. Do you know what makes humans truly dangerous? He asked. It is not our strength or speed. It is our endurance. Not just physical endurance. Mental endurance. A human can fail 1,000 times and keep trying. A human can be injured and keep fighting. A human can watch everything they love be destroyed and still get up the next day to rebuild. He looked around the lecture hall at all the armored and fanged and venomous students. Your species evolves specific adaptations to survive specific threats. When those threats change, you struggle to adapt. Humans have no specific adaptations. We can live anywhere, fight anything, survive conditions that should kill us. And when we find something we cannot beat, we do not give up. We study it. We learn it. We find its weakness. He looked at Instructor. I read about biology for fun because I was curious. In 3 hours of study, I found 3 ways to defeat your natural armor. Imagine what I could find with 3 days or 3 years. Professor slowly lowered himself into his chair. His 4 arms hung limp at his sides. His silver-blue scales had gone pale. This cannot be correct, he said weakly. If humans were so dangerous, we would know. The galactic surveys would have identified you as a threat species. Lily shook her head. The surveys studied our weapons. They are ships and our bombs and our military technology. They concluded we were a young species with impressive tools but fragile bodies. She smiled, and suddenly she did not look like a student anymore. She looked like something much older and much more patient. They never thought to study what we were like before we had those tools. They never asked what kind of creature invents a better way to kill when it has already killed everything else. A student in the front row raised an armored limb. His voice was shaking. Then why do you seem so friendly? Why did you join the galactic community as traders and diplomats instead of warriors? The 3 humans looked at each other. Something passed between them that the aliens could not read. Cody turned to face the class. That, he said, is actually the most important question anyone has asked today. The question from the student echoed through Lecture Hall 7. Every alien in the room leaned forward, waiting for the answer. They had just learned that humans were not the fragile creatures they had believed. Now they wanted to understand why these hidden predators had chosen peace. Cody Marshall looked at the young with an expression that was hard to read. There was sadness in it, and something that might have been shame. Before I answer that, he said, I need to tell you about something that happened on Earth a long time ago. He gestured to Lily, who brought up new images on her holographic display. They showed a ruined city, buildings crumbled, fires burning, bodies in the streets. Humans discovered very early that the most dangerous thing on our planet was not the predators with big teeth or the creatures with armor. The most dangerous thing was us. The display changed to show 2 groups of humans facing each other with weapons. We are tribal by nature, Cody explained. We form groups, we protect those groups, and for most of our history we treated other groups as threats to be destroyed. More images appeared, war after war after war, destruction that spread across centuries and continents. We developed weapons to hunt. Then we turned those weapons on each other, and because we are so good at what we do, the results were terrible. Sam walked to the center of the platform. His face was serious, in a way that made the alien students uncomfortable. Humans have killed more humans than any other species has ever killed anything, he said. We did it for territory, for resources, for ideas, for revenge, for reasons that made sense at the time and reasons that made no sense at all. He paused to let this sink in. We got very, very good at it, better than anyone in this room can imagine. We developed weapons that could destroy entire cities in seconds. We invented poisons that could kill millions. We created diseases in laboratories and spread them on purpose. The display showed something that made several alien students look away. A mushroom cloud rising over a burning city. That is a nuclear weapon, Sam said quietly. Humans invented that. We used it twice against our own species. We then built thousands more, enough to destroy our entire planet many times over. Professor made a sound that might have been horror. Why, he asked, why would any species create such things? Lily answered him. Because we could, because we were afraid of each other, because once one group had such weapons, every other group needed them too. It is what happens when apex predators live in competition with each other. She changed the display to show something different. A group of humans from many different nations standing together, shaking hands. But something changed, she said. After we saw what we could do to each other, after we looked into the fire and understood that we could end everything, we made a choice. Cody took over the explanation. We chose to stop, not because we became weak, not because we forgot how to fight. We stopped because we realized that our greatest enemy had always been ourselves. He walked through the aisles between the alien students, just as Sam had done earlier. But this time his movement was gentle, almost friendly. Humans are dangerous, he admitted. We can kill almost anything. We can survive almost anywhere. We adapt and overcome and endure past the point of reason. But those same traits that make us deadly also make us capable of something else. He stopped beside a young student who seemed particularly nervous. We can choose, Cody said. We can look at our instincts and decide not to follow them. We can see an enemy and choose to make a friend instead. We can recognize our own darkness and walk away from it. They looked up at him with all four eyes. How, she asked, how do you control such impulses? Cody smiled gently. We do not control them, we redirect them. All that energy, all that drive to protect and fight and win, we point it at different targets. We protect instead of attack. We build instead of destroy. We cooperate instead of compete. Sam spoke from the central platform. When humans first looked up at the stars, we saw two possibilities. We could bring our wars out here and try to conquer everything we found, or we could leave our worst habits behind and start fresh. He looked around at the gathered students from 40 different species. We chose the second option, not because we were forced to, not because we were too weak for conquest. We chose it because we had already seen what conquest leads to. We chose it because we were tired of being monsters. Lily brought up one final image on her display. It showed the first human ship to make contact with alien life. Small figures of humans and aliens stood together on a space station, meeting for the first time. When we met the galactic community, we could have lied about what we were. We could have pretended to be harmless and waited for the right moment to strike. Many species would have expected that from predators like us. She turned to face Professor directly. Instead, we told the truth. We admitted our history. We showed you our wars and our weapons and our terrible potential. And we asked for the chance to prove that we could be something better. The professor stared at her with all four eyes. The Galactic Council knew what you were. They knew some of it. They did not know all of it. They still do not understand how dangerous humans can really be when we choose to fight, but they knew enough to be cautious. Lily smiled, and there was warmth in it. They gave us a chance anyway. They welcomed us as traders and diplomats. They let us prove ourselves through actions instead of judging us only by our past. Instructor spoke for the first time since his defeat. And that is why you do not take offense when beings call you weak, because you know the truth and do not need others to believe it. Cody turned to face the tall. Partly, he said, but there is another reason. He walked back to the central platform and stood beside his friends. Humans have learned that real strength is not about winning fights. Real strength is about not needing to fight at all. We spent thousands of years proving we could destroy anything. Now we want to spend the next 1,000 years proving we can build instead. Sam nodded in agreement. When you called us fragile, we laughed because we know what we are. But we also laughed because we hoped you would never have to find out the hard way. He looked around the lecture hall at all the young beings who had come here to learn about other species. We want to be your friends. We want to trade with you and work beside you and share what we know. We want to be part of something bigger than just our own survival. Lily added softly, but we also want you to understand one thing. Every alien in the room focused on her. If anyone ever threatens the friends we make out here, if anyone ever tries to hurt the species that welcomed us into their community, they will discover exactly what happens when humans stop being friendly. She said it simply, without anger or threat. It was just a fact, like the color of the sky or the pull of gravity. We protect what we love, Lily said, and we never ever stop. The room was silent for a long moment. Then Professor rose slowly from his chair. His forearms moved in a gesture that the human students did not recognize. It was the sign of deep respect. I believe, the professor said quietly, that I need to completely revise my lecture. The lecture hall remained quiet for several heartbeats after Professor made his gesture of respect. Then, slowly, other students began to move. The in the front row rose from his seat and made a similar gesture with his armored limbs. The cluster hummed with telepathic communication that spread through their entire group, and then they too offered signs of acknowledgement. One by one, species after species showed their own versions of respect to the three humans standing on the central platform. Cody Marshall felt something warm spread through his chest. He had not expected this. He had expected fear, maybe suspicion, not this quiet wave of acceptance. Instructor walked forward until he stood directly in front of Cody. The towered over the young human, his armored form blocking the light from the ceiling panels. You could have injured me badly, said. During our demonstration, you knew exactly where to strike. You chose not to. Cody nodded. That was not the lesson I wanted to teach. What was the lesson? That having the ability to hurt someone and choosing not to use it is more impressive than any natural armor. Considered this for a moment. Then he extended one massive hand toward Cody in a gesture he had learned from studying human customs. I would like to learn more about your species, the instructor said. Would you be willing to teach me? Cody took the offered hand and shook it firmly. I would be honored. Professor had moved to his lecture podium and was making rapid notes with all four hands. His scales had returned to their normal silver-blue color, and his eyes showed the bright curiosity of a scholar who had just discovered something wonderful. I have so many questions, he said to no one in particular. The implications for evolutionary theory alone are staggering. A species that developed tool use not from necessity but from preference, pursuit predation across multiple climate zones, deliberate domestication of potential threats. He looked up at Lily Torres, who was watching him with amusement. Would you be willing to consult on a revised curriculum? I clearly have much to learn about humanity, and I would prefer to learn it correctly. Lily smiled. I would be happy to help, Professor, but I think you might want to start by reading some of our actual historical records instead of the summaries the galactic surveys provided. The surveys were inaccurate. They were incomplete. They focused on our technology and our biology. They did not spend much time on our psychology or our culture. They did not ask why we do the things we do. She paused, then added gently, they also did not ask what we are afraid of. Professor tilted his head. What are humans afraid of? Sam answered from across the platform. Ourselves, he said simply. We spent our entire history learning to fear what we could become. Every religion we created, every philosophy, every moral system, they all exist because we knew we needed rules to keep ourselves in check. He walked toward the professor slowly. The galactic community looks at humans and sees a young species with fragile bodies and impressive tools. They assume we are like children, still learning how to survive in a dangerous universe. He stopped beside the podium. The truth is that we are very old, not in years but in experience. We have already fought every war, already committed every crime, already faced every temptation. We came to the stars carrying the weight of all our mistakes. Professor was silent for a long moment. And yet you chose to be peaceful, he finally said. We chose to try, Sam corrected. Every day we choose again. It is not easy. We still have the instincts. We still feel the pull toward violence and competition and domination. but we remember what happens when we give in to those feelings. He gestured toward the display that still showed images of human history. We carry our history with us, Professor. Every war, every genocide, every terrible thing we ever did to each other. We remember it so that we do not repeat it. The class period had officially ended some time ago, but no one had left. Students who had other lectures to attend sat frozen in their seats, unwilling to miss whatever came next. A young finally raised one of her many limbs. "I have a question," she said nervously. "If humans are so dangerous, why do you allow yourself to be outnumbered? There are only 3 of you at this entire academy. If the other species turned against you, you would be overwhelmed." Cody laughed softly. "You are assuming we are outnumbered." They looked confused. "There are only 3 humans here." "There are 3 human students here," Cody agreed. "But we have been at this academy for almost 1 full year now." He looked around the lecture hall at all the alien faces watching him. "In that time, we have made friends. We have studied together and eaten together and helped each other through difficult times. The student in the front row helped me pass my quantum physics exam. I helped him understand human literature in return." He pointed to a cluster of near the middle of the hall. "The collective in Section 7, and I spend every rest day playing strategy games together. They always win, but I am getting better." He smiled at instructor. "And now I hope I have a new training partner who can teach me about combat techniques." The student slowly understood. "You have been forming alliances." "We have been making friends," Cody corrected. "That is what humans do. We find beings we care about and we bind ourselves to them. We share our knowledge and our skills and our protection." He spread his hands wide. "So no, we are not outnumbered. We have you." The room was quiet again, but it was a different kind of quiet now. It was the silence of understanding spreading from mind to mind. Professor made one final note on his podium display. Then he turned to face the entire class. "I think we have all learned something valuable today," he said. "I certainly have. I thought I understood humanity from data and reports. I was wrong." He looked at the 3 human students with new eyes. "Humans are not fragile creatures who need weapons to survive. They are apex predators who chose to put down their weapons. They are monsters who decided to become guardians. They are conquerors who came to the stars looking for friends." He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. "And I think the galaxy is very lucky that they did." The class ended not with the usual dismissal but with something unprecedented. Students rose from their seats and approached the human delegation. They asked questions. They offered friendship. They touched hands and exchanged contact information. 3 hours later, when the lecture hall was finally empty, instructor remained behind. He stood at the window, looking out at the stars, processing everything he had learned. His personal tablet chimed with a new notification. He opened it to find a request he had sent to the Academy database earlier. Full historical archives of Earth, all available records from first human civilization to present day. Estimated reading time, 4,000 hours. Downloaded the files without hesitation. He had a lot of studying to do. Across the station, in the small quarters assigned to human students, Cody and Lily and Sam sat together in comfortable silence. "That went better than expected," Lily finally said. Cody nodded. "I was worried they would be frightened." Sam shook his head. They were frightened, but they were also curious, and humans have learned that curiosity is the first step toward friendship. He looked out the small window at the station beyond, where beings from 40 different species lived and worked and learned together. "We are going to be fine out here," he said quietly, "as long as we remember what we chose to be." Lily raised an imaginary glass in a toast. "To humanity," she said, "the monsters who chose to be friends." Cody and Sam raised their own imaginary glasses. "To humanity," they agreed. And somewhere in the vast database of the Institute, a quiet update was made. Human species classification was changed from vulnerable to a new category that Professor had created specifically for this occasion. The new designation read, "Contained apex predators, handle with respect."